Welcome to the RBC Spotlight space. My name is Anastasia Busis. Day 2 of the Olympics here in Tokyo. How's everyone doing? My nerves are a little shot. Some great competition yesterday. Personal highlight, Mike Woods, epic battle, 5th place, men's road race, 235 kilometers in the heat. I mean, we've talked about the heat. I don't even know how to describe it. It's like breathing French onion soup. Like, it's so heavy. It sits right here. Huge highlight for me. But all eyes, of course, are on the pool, and the Canadian swimmers set to do big things. We're going to get right into it. We're going to bring in none other than Olympic bronze medalist Brittany MacLean. Brittany, beam me up. Come on. You're joining me from Toronto CBC headquarters. How are you doing, my friend? Thanks so much for taking the time.
It's my honor to be here. I'm already a #1 fan of the show. And yeah, we're doing great. I'm so happy, as you are, to get the first day of the games underway, and the excitement is building. And I'm just so fortunate to be involved. So yeah, it's exciting.
You obviously won a bronze medal in Rio, now retired. First things first, I mean, it's kind of weird to work your first game. How are your emotions working versus being in the pool?
Honestly, so far, so good, in the sense that I'm so glad, again, to be involved, but I'm not missing the racing in that aspect. I think tonight it's all going to hit me, though. And as you can probably imagine, once there's medals being awarded and I see athletes in the podium, I think it's going to become that much more real. Obviously, it feels like the Olympics has started, but I think it's still going to take some time to really set in for me. I'm just so thrilled that these athletes are finally getting their opportunity to race, and I can't wait for more action to get going. So yeah, I'm doing great so far. I've always been a big cheerleader, so I'm very happy to be on this side and rooting everyone on.
Well, we actually have a clip of you cheerleading. Producer Soph, can we throw that up real quick?
Two swimmers. There's Brittany MacLean, the Canadian record holder. See, good shot of her when she was getting excited and cheering everybody on.
Well, at least for now, her Canadian record of 8:20 is okay. But what a performance for Summer McIntosh.
We're doing the MacLean. We're doing the MacLean.
You got to go this way. You got to cheer them on. Yeah, I was so excited. Honestly, all of those athletes, there was no spectators. Fans couldn't be in the stands. I had a media role at the trials, but my finals position was a little bit more just about recapping after the fact. So I was allowed in the building, and I'm if I'm in the building and no one else can be, we're making the most of this. And I wanted them to feel like they were supported. So it was my honor to take on that role.
I'm going to use that dance move more times than I'd like to admit. Listen, the women did massive things, including yourself in Rio 2016. What can we expect from our swimming team here in Tokyo?
Honestly, I know there's a lot of, pressure after the performances of Rio, but I truly believe that if there's a team to withhold that pressure, it's this team. I have a lot of confidence in them. I think they're prepared. I think out of every country that's battled the pandemic, especially swimming related, these Canadians they're used to swimming under adverse conditions. They are used to not having fans in the stands. A lot of them train together. So for example, this 4x100 freestyle relay team, all of those girls train together every day. So if there's any level of comfort, I think the Canadians have the upper hand there. I also just think there's so many women on the world-class stage. And then we've got some great storylines on the men's side as well. So I'm really looking forward. I think there's a potential of reaching the podium in this session this morning for you, tonight for us, and that's only just going to be the beginning.
Just quickly, can you give us some names to especially watch out for? Some inside
information. Tonight, I think, just in general too, the big names for me that are going to stand out on the women's side, we have 2 reigning world champions, and there was my whole career, we didn't really have world champions. So this is crazy to even say, but Kylie Moss in the 100 backstroke, Maggie McNeil in the 100 butterfly. Maggie will be competing in this upcoming session in the semifinal. So no medals are going to be awarded tonight, but she's going to look for a strong, confident swim in order to qualify her through to the final. And then that women's relay, all the women's relays. Today, the women's 4x100 freestyle relay is going to be the one you want to keep an eye out for to potentially reach the podium. The Australians on that relay are dominant. They are going to win unless there's a DQ or something crazy happens. But then there's the Dutch, the Americans, the Canadians, the Chinese had a really strong one. So there's about 4 to 5 teams that could fight for the medals. So Canada can do as good as maybe silver and then potentially be in there. But it is the return of Penny Oleksiak. And I know we've spoken about, a lot of the legacy at 15 years old, she managed to begin, and now she's an experienced veteran. So this is her first race so far of the Tokyo Games, and I'm really looking forward to her getting a chance to swim her first final.
You mentioned Penny's name, of course, fairy tale, right? She breaks onto the scene, wins the Olympics in 2016. Such a young age, so much pressure under that white hot spotlight. She's 5 years older now, as we all are. But aside from being older and more mature, what's going to be the differentiator for her to do big things in Tokyo 2020?
Yeah, I think the 2016 rush was not only shocking for us as the public, not only shocking for us in the swimming community, but for her as well. She came in with this innocence, which proved to be such an advantage, I think. And I know we've discussed, that fear of failure that a lot of us have when there's expectation and you want something so badly, and then you stand up on the blocks and you're so scared to fail that you're not necessarily giving yourself an opportunity to do well. And so I can't speak for Penny, obviously, but there was that immediate rise. And then we experienced a bit of challenge from there. And it was never a time where Penny was completely out of the mix, but there were some struggles. And so I think this Games has not only that extra year provided her a little bit of extra time to get back in the zone, but she's talked about how, she needed those challenges to be able to get back into a space where she's comfortable again. And her swim at trials, which was the Olympic swimming trials about a month ago, was the most confident and relaxed I think I've seen her other than at those Olympic Games. So that was the indicator she needed to know that confidence is back. I'm in shape, I'm strong, and she has a great kind of community surrounding her. I think she's figured out how to handle the pressure to the way that's healthy for her. She's really focused on the details, making sure she has, again, what she needs to perform. And that takes maturity, as you mentioned, but I think it also just the time of this extra year to be able to go through the pandemic struggles, but then also come out on the other side and do a performance last month that proved that she's in the best shape of her life, I think is exactly what she needed going into these Games.
That's wonderful to hear. We talk about pressure, of course, and you get it. And once upon a time when I was an athlete, I got it. But this past year, we've really entered into a new conversation around the pressures to perform with athletes, mental health. I think it's very hard at times for people to reconcile kind of these larger than life personalities with struggling with things that can at times be invisible. I look to Naomi Osaka and her candidness with her mental health struggles. You've also been candid with mental health struggles and some of your struggles. Where do you hope that conversation goes in the athletic community?
I just hope we continue to have voices like Naomi who are willing, when they are comfortable and when it's their time, to share what they need to share. And I think I sometimes take for granted the fact that for me, sharing my story brings me comfort, knowing that other people might feel a little less alone. But I completely understand that that's not the case for everyone. And that's 100% your story to tell. And so I think just creating a space where it is safe to do so when people are ready. I think too, like I talked about at the end of my career, take every, I have mental health struggles that are outside of my sport, but also the anxieties I had within my sport. And I think at the end of my career, there was a point where, like I said, I had this great fear of failure, and it got to me every single day in practice. I had been in the best physical shape of my life, and I was seeing sports psychologists. I was working on it at an arm's length. But I think if I had caught that early enough and I'd pursued my career further, that is something I really could have dove in deeper into. And I think a lot of athletes are now thinking it is not all about the way I can go up and down a pool or around the arena or any other, whatever it is for your sport. And to be at our top physical shape, you need to be in your top mental zone. And so again, normalizing conversations, having tough conversations, like you do on your podcast. By the way, I listened to your last 2 episodes today on my walk. It was incredible. But having conversations that you are able to make other people feel less alone, I think is the first step in the right direction.
Thank you for your vulnerability and using your voice to tell your story from the bottom of my heart. You know what you mean to me, and thank you for being so candid with that. It's been a tough year for everyone, athletes included. What do you think the mindset is for our Canadian swimmers going into the pool tonight?
Momentum. I think the thing that got everyone through this like glory Rio performance, I actually found an article I did right before Rio. It was an interview, and I read that we hadn't won a women's swimming medal in 20 plus years. And I knew it had been a while, but I don't think I realized to that extent. And then after Rio, I think there were 6 or 7 of them, and a couple of them were in relay. So I think there was like 12 athletes that came away with a medal at that games. So after that experience, it really started on that first night, the women's relay. It was the first ever time in history that 4x100 freestyle relay had won a medal. And after that, it just opened the floodgates. Everyone said, I want a piece of this. I want to be a part of this history-making team. And from there, it went boom, 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 boom. To be fair, I think it's even going to be that much more important in Tokyo, because I saw the clips of them during the prelim session, and the team is allowed to be in the stands. So they're the only fans, and therefore that's going to matter the most. If you can watch your teammates finding success, if you see that realistic goal in front of you, I truly think it's just going to trickle on from there. So for me, it's the momentum. Like I said earlier, I think they are more poised than any other country to combat what they've been through in the pandemic. They haven't gotten the chance to race at a world-class level yet. It's not going to go perfect, obviously. We already saw in the morning it didn't go perfect, but it will, I think, put them in a position to do everything they can to be successful. And so there's not going to be a perfect competition for any sport, but I do feel confident that our swimmers are about to light it up on the pool, if that's a thing. Can we light it up in the pool?
Light it up in the wet stuff. Listen,
There you go.
I'm actually a terrible swimmer. My mom was even a lifeguard, and she was like, "You swim like a rock." So
I feel like you have a sports story for everyone. Like listening today, Perdita, you're going to try hurdles. You are also going to do Taekwondo. You are also, I think by every podcast you have talked at least about the softball. I heard you have a softball career up in the go. So we will take to I know you've spoken about this, but I think we need to do a series where like average Joes, AKA us now, try every Olympic sport. And you would be way more coordinated than and I might have a little bit of the endurance left in me. But other than that, I think we would be a hilarious duo.
I would love, let's pitch that. And with that being said, let's just sign out doing the MacLean. We're ready for the pool, lighting it up in the wet stuff.
We are. Go Team Canada.
Thank you so much, Olympic bronze medalist Brittany MacLean. You're welcome on this show anytime. So, Britt,
it's
thanks
my
so much,
honor,
and best of luck.
You make me so proud. Keep it up. Bye, ladies.
Thanks, my friend. Talking about cheerleading. Listen, we're going to be honest. We're 13 hours ahead of Toronto right now, at least. We're in the future. You guys are in the past. It's very confusing. And so when you were sleeping, we actually caught up with chef de mission and leader of Team Canada, Olympic champion 3 times over, Marnie McBean. Now, Marnie loves the Olympics more than anyone I think I've ever met in my entire life. Tremendous mentor and friend to so many Canadian athletes. And we talked about how difficult it was being, the leader, a cheerleader for Team Canada in such a unique Olympics. Of course, no one can yell, no one can clap. And so we talked about it. So throw up the tape.
I can't cheer, I can't sing, and I can't whistle, and I can't hoot and holler. And so, and I realized this like in October of last year, and I started trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I had it in my mind that having a drum would be a good thing. And I remember there was a family that had a rowing family that had a drum in Beijing. That would be great. And the drum I wanted is an Indigenous style. And as much as you can go on Google and the Amazon and get anything, I didn't believe that to be a respectful way. And so I reached out, and through Clara Hughes, actually, I was connected to Tawny Joseph, a Squamish Nation. And I asked him if it was an appropriate use of a drum like that, and if he could help me figure out how I could get a drum, and he listened to me and what I wanted, and then he took it back to his Uncle Dennis Joseph, and they talked about it as a community, and the response was that they would like to gift me a drum. And so that comes with a protocol and a ceremony, and there's work to be done in something like that. And so Tawny went about having a drum made for me and designed for me, and for that to be given to me, I couldn't just fly out to his community, Squamish Nation, Vancouver. I couldn't just fly out there and get it. So Trisha Smith received it for me. And so there was a ceremony that they had. And so when Trisha received it, part of that protocol included witnesses. And so Clara Hughes was there, and Christine Nesbitt, Mike Bryden, Kathleen Heddle's husband, was there with their kids. Her sisters and my brother were all there to share in that. And so Dennis Joseph, as an elder of Squamish Nation, he talked us through the ceremony and about giving gifts, and even the ribbon that I'm wearing now was something that was blessed by them and presented to the Canadian Olympic Committee. As you know, we realize there is important work to be done in reconciliation and understanding, and going beyond the understanding of the wrongs that have been done in the past, and making things right, and figuring out how to make things more inclusive, and that we all stand up with our spirits and we move forward. So Uncle Dennis, he told stories, and he sang songs, and he passed the gifts over to Trisha, and then the witnesses spoke. So Trisha spoke, and Clara and Christine and Mike and my brother, and it was a beautiful thing. And I think the design on the drum tells a lot. Like hopefully people will see this drum. Hopefully I'll be at the venues playing it.
Photos.
But the design on the drum shows the eye of the ancestor and the creator around the edge. And then there's a copper element that comes, I believe it's the Tawny's wife is Coast Salish, and copper is an honor, and it has meaning. And so she said it was okay to put the copper on there, and there's a maple leaf and the Olympic rings. And so the idea of the drum is that the ancestors and the creators are looking down at Team Canada at the Olympics, and this has meaning. And in my early conversations with Tawny, he told me that the drum is used in Indigenous communities to represent the heartbeat of their community. And that was exactly what I was hoping for. And so I know when I have this drum, there's a responsibility to it, and it represents the heartbeat of Team Canada. And one of the other stories that Uncle Joseph, it was actually a song that he sang. And forgive me if I pronounce this Squamish word poorly, but it's hanina. And that word is what you hear when you fall, right? Because when you fall, you need to get back up. You know, you need to get back up on your own. Sometimes you need to get back up with help. But anina is the idea that when you get up, that your spirit and your soul moves with you, right? You get up together. So when you're down, you anina, and you get up. And I think that's kind of a lovely idea for sport, because as much as we think we rise in sport, there's a lot of falling, right? There's a lot of even for the champion, there's a lot of times that we're down, and we have to move up. Through this whole pandemic, it's been a very difficult time. And there's been many times when we could get up with our bodies, but we have to also get up with our spirits. And so when I will be, you know, representing the heartbeat of Team Canada, and so they can hear us on the field of play, I think it's that idea of rising up.
Marnie McBean, what an amazing conversation that was. Just such a leader. We are so lucky to have her leading Canadian athletes. And she is, again, such a cheerleader. She made up her own little cheer. I'd like to throw to a cute little video of her and her daughter cheering on Team Canada.
Say ah, and ah, day ah, allez Canada, say ah, and ah, day ah, allez Canada, say ah, and ah, day ah, allez Canada.
I got to do that alongside the MacLean. Obviously, I mean, all eyes are in the pool tonight, as we've said. I think a lot of people are cheering on RBC Olympian Penny Oleksiak as a 3-time Olympic champion. I also asked Marnie what her advice is to defend an Olympic gold medal, if there is such thing, how to maintain or be steadfast through the pressure. And she had some pretty lovely insights for Penny Oleksiak. You've won 3 Olympic gold medals. What do you tell a Penny Oleksiak? Of course, she did so many things in Rio, hoping to do big things here in Tokyo. What would your advice be for her?
Well, I remember chasing her down right after Rio. First of all, to congratulate her, but it's important. There was a lot of like holistic things that she has figured out on this whole path of this year. Is like Olympic champion is hers for life. Like, yeah, she doesn't have to race here. It doesn't matter how she does here. She will be an Olympic champion. And I think that's one of the things that Michael Phelps has really helped her with is like, you just park that and do these games. And so with Penny, it's an opportunity to see what you have here, right? This doesn't have to sit on the it's actually the other way. Rio shouldn't be sitting on her shoulders here.
Yeah.
She should be standing on her performance in Rio, right? It should be helping her lift up. And that's that whole thing about expectation, right? Yeah. So expectation is sometimes the enemy of joy. And I think she's done a really good arc. And she's said that the last year has been really important for her for actually parking that expectation and reconnecting with that joy. And so she has come in. We've seen it from the Canadian trials where she's showing us that, we didn't, she was a bit of a surprise to us coming into Rio. And I think she's going to come in and she's like letting us know that she's kind of sharpened her teeth and she's ready to get into the pool.
Joy and swagger. Marnie, thank you so much for taking the time to connect. It's always lovely to see you.
Oh, thanks.
I love that. Sharpened her teeth. Producer Soph, why don't you come in? There's so much going on that I need all the help I can get. And Soph's notes. Woo! The MacLean. This is gonna go viral, really.
I know, right? We're gonna patent it. So good morning, good evening. I don't even know what day it is. It doesn't matter. I guess my role as your producer is to make you look good first and foremost. But it's also to make you.
That's a tough one.
No, it's not. And it's also to make your life easier. So I came up with an idea, and it's called Soph's Notes. And it's basically just things people are talking about around the digital world. So Melissa Humana-Paredes, partner Sarah Pavin, absolutely knocked it out of the park on the beach yesterday. They won their first match. And we've heard from a couple of our reporters and other producers that were on the ground there. Sweltering heat. So thank goodness we went 2 sets.
Let's just take a second and try and talk about the heat, because again, it's so easy to see a headline about the heat in Tokyo. I mean, can you describe? I said French onion soup, I think. How would you describe it, Sophie?
So, okay, maybe I have the worst fashion sense in the world, but wearing a polyester shirt and these long, tight pants in this heat is maybe the worst decision I've made in a long time. And exactly, I don't know what we're thinking, but I wanted to say too, when you said it was like breathing in hot French onion soup, I smell like hot French onion soup. I don't know what I'm thinking. It's very, very hot. It's that hot that's what I smell like.
It is so hot here. And I mean, off the top, I said my highlight was Mike Woods in the road race, 235 kilometers. Really? I don't know how you physically do that. We walk from the bus, and the bus walk may take 4.5 minutes. And nice. It almost gives me anxiety in that 4.5 minutes. It's so hot here.
It's so hot. Okay. Anyway, enough about the heat. The second thing and the last thing, obviously everyone's talking about the women in the pool. We're talking about it today here as well. Just of note, Summer McIntosh, she is 14. She's younger than Penny was in Rio. She's definitely one to keep your eyes on.
So much happening in the pool. As I said, I swim like a rock. How do you swim? Soph?
Not well. When I still go swimming and I just basically play mermaids. It's not a competitive thing for me. So, very casual swimmer, but we're having a pool party. We're having a pool party in Tokyo. Oh my gosh, I almost said Rio. I don't even know what planet
5 years
I'm on.
ago.
Time flies.
It sounds like we would be pretty good swimming analysts, though. You would take the mermaid approach. I would take the doggy paddle approach. Soph's notes. Thank you so much, my dear. We'll have to keep bringing that back. Soph's notes. We'll need to get like a nice little song and dance for that.
Yes, we'll have to come up with another version of the MacLean. Anyway, you close the show, baby. You're killing it.
Thank you. Let's close the show. Here's what to expect, and here's some RBC Olympians to keep your eyes open for. Skylar Park, absolute Taekwondo all-star, 57 kg. She's got her eyes on going for gold. Pride of Winnipeg, cheer her on. Matt Berger, street skateboarding. Big things to come from him too. And Mandy Bujold, of course, not just Canadians, everyone around the world has fallen in love with her and her story. She almost didn't make Tokyo. She's had a 16-year career. In those 16 years, she missed 3 tournaments due to pregnancy. Those ended up to be the 3 qualifying tournaments for Tokyo 2020. It went to the Court of Arbitration to get into Tokyo. And, congratulations to Mandy, because the right decision was made. And she is here to box, hoping to go for gold. Her tournament starts now. That's our show, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. It's always a pleasure. I will be back here tomorrow daily again. Candid conversations. Tell us who you want to talk to, who you want me to talk to, what you want us to talk about. We want to hear from you. And thanks again so much for joining RBC Spotlight.